Welcome to my turn-by-turn tutorial on driving Summit Point Raceway located in Summit Point, West Virginia. Summit Point is a 2-mile long circuit, 10 turns, labeled, but there's actually only 9 turns around the track. There is no turn 2 at Summit Point. The car I'm using here in this video is a 2005 Honda S2000 set up for NASA's TT5 time trial class. It's a very basic build with just some sticky tires, coilovers, big brake kit, and just the big wing as aero. The car is fully caged, however, it still retains all of its amenities, still has AC, cruise control, and radio as well as heat. The car comes in at about 3,000 pounds with me in it, and it makes 214 horsepower to the wheel. In this video, we'll stop at the turns on the track and we'll discuss some of the methods that I use to get around the track. I don't claim this to be the fastest or the most effective way around the track. It's simply a demonstration of what I do, the references I use for the turns, and some of the speeds I take them at, and the lap times that result from it. Let's begin this video by starting and talking about turn 10. Turn 10 is one of the most important turns on this racetrack. It's a high-speed turn, right-hander, and it is going to have a big impact on what your speed is going to be down the straightaway. So effective cornering speed out of turn 10 is critical because it's going to have a big impact on your lap time. Leading into turn 10, I stay about 75% of the track over to the left, and I go into the bridge. It takes the ever so slightest steering input here to maintain that track all the way down. As soon as I straighten out the wheel, I aim for the left side of the track, and I go very, very heavy on the braking here. Now in my car, I'm in 5th gear, so it requires a downshift down to 4th gear before I start my turn in. However, in my AP1 S2000, with the extra 1000 RPM red line, I was able to maintain 4th there. Depending on what your speed is going to be after the previous turn, you may be in 4th, you may be in 5th, and obviously it's going to make a difference what kind of car you're driving. The reference point that I'm using here to let off the brakes as well as start my turn in is the point on the left you see where the grass turns into the dirt. Once I hit that point, I am off the brakes, I'm turning in, and I'm going right for the apex. As soon as I get off the brakes at the previous point I showed you, I'm right back on the throttle feeding, and as soon as I hit apex, I'm back 100% throttle. It's important to note here how much track out surface you actually have. If you look at the exit here at the Gators, there is almost an entire car width worth of space there off the left. So if the car's pushing and you're sliding out, you do have quite a bit of room to go off to the edge of the track there and still stay on pavement. It's worth stopping here and taking note of something pretty important. If you go wide here and you end up in the sand on the left side of the track, it is crucial that you keep the wheel pointed straight and reduce your speed to something that's safe and then re-enter the track surface. Many cars have tried to re-enter the track surface at a high speed and resulted in spinning and hooking against the wall that you see on the right. That's why those tires are there. It's nearly inevitable at every event somebody will make this mistake and we will lose a car over it. So very, very important here. If you go off, keep it going straight. There's plenty of room there. Get to control of speed and then re-enter the track surface. So as we reach the end of the main straightaway, we're approaching turn 1. Turn 1 is marked with braking distance markers on your left, so it's an excellent frame of reference for when you should start or end your braking, as well as turn-in points. I've experimented with a couple of different ways in my car how to do it, and that was varying from braking early at 5 and letting off the brakes early, from all the way braking at 3 and trail braking deep into the apex. What I found to work the best for me in my particular car is braking at the 4 and trail braking just up until the apex and getting back on throttle at that point. Now, coming into turn 1 here, it's important to take a look at what you have in front of you. You have a nice big sandy area as well as a tire wall over there, and then you have an exit road to the left. It's kind of important to keep in the back of your mind at all times what you would do if you had to bail in the event of a mechanical emergency, something like a brake failure, for example. So let's take a quick zoom out, and I'll show you guys what it looks like from a top-down view of this turn. I'm not going to explicitly tell you what to do in a mechanical failure. Every single situation is different. Just want to give you an idea of what your surroundings look like here. As we exit turn 1 here, we enter what I would suppose be considered turn 2 if a turn 2 did exist at Summit, which it doesn't. It's just a kind of gradual right-hand turn here. It doesn't really have an impact on your speed, so people don't even consider this a turn. Now, most people exiting turn 1, or rather a lot of people and a lot of instructors will teach to go all the way out, which is the traditional and DE line. But in this S2000 in particular, it is low powered enough where I can be fully on the throttle and start cutting over to the right and save myself a couple of feet on the track. So that's what I do. I don't want to waste any extra space if I don't have to. The next turn here at Summit is turn 3, and there's a lot of visual cues here. If you look straight ahead, there is a corner worker station, and that's kind of where I aim my car and point directly at that corner worker station. There's an access road that you see off to your right, and there's another access road just past that. Everybody's braking markers are going to vary based on the type of car they're using, the pad, the tire, etc. For me, in my car, I brake right at the start of this access road, and I start my turn in and brake release right at the end of it. So I start in, I feed the throttle about 80 and gradually increase to 90% and then eventually 100% as I approach the apex. So turn 3 is a fast climbing left-hand turn. There's a lot of room at the end of it. At the top, you see how the gators are pretty wide here. It's almost half a car length wide. You'll also see to the right that there's a big gravel trap set up there. So if you actually go and watch some of these Spec Miata guys racing here, they'll go 2-3 wide, and inevitably one of them ends off into that gravel, and they just keep powering through and they go right through there straight. So again, anytime you have a track excursion like that, you want to kind of try to keep the wheel straight as possible and re-enter the track surface at a safe speed. Turn 4 leads up to turn 5 here, which is the downhill right-hand turn. Now this turn does not have a lot of room for error. It is surrounded by tire walls on both sides, and it leads into a braking zone. So the big limiting factor of this turn is not the radius of the turn, but rather the braking zone at the end of it. Going into this turn, I don't use the brakes. I don't find it to be worthwhile to get on the brakes and then reaccelerate to a certain speed and then take the corner. I find it much more efficient just to get to the speed that I want to take the turn at and then use throttle maintenance to get through here. Now, you don't want to lift here. You don't want to unload the back end. You're going to end up spinning here. And like I said, there's not a lot of room for runoff. So again, get to the speed that you want, maintain that with throttle, stay steady throttle throughout, gradually increasing as you hit the apex, and then line up the car for the braking. In my car, I'll come through this turn at anywhere from, say, 103 to about 108 miles an hour. And that all varies a bit depending on the kind of tires I have and the conditions at the time of the track. So anything faster than that, I found that I just don't have enough brakes. So you'll have to evaluate what your car's braking and cornering potential is and evaluate your speed from there. As far as a braking marker is concerned here, I don't really have one. I wait until the wheel is just about unwinded, and I go full heavy braking and downshift from 5th to 3rd gear. I consider turn 5 a bit of a throwaway turn. I keep the car track left, and I will try to optimize my exit speed out of here the best I possibly can, because it sets me up for turn 6, 7, 8, and 9, and eventually 10, which are all linked. A lot of people keep track right, and they'll try to make a little bit more of a traditional line. I'm not saying that works or it doesn't work. It just does not work the best for me, and it doesn't work for my car. Now, as we approach turn 6 here, it's crucial that you optimize your exit speed because the next series of turns are all linked, and you're going to carry that speed that you gain from here all the way up to turn 10. So basically, as soon as you get to the left side of the track, you're already turning the wheel to the right. For my car, I just do a quick stab of the brakes from about 60 to 50 miles an hour. I get that traction in the front end, and I start my turn in as that car starts to rotate right back on the gas. Now, probably the best way to do this is using left foot braking, but my car has a very small footwell, and I have a size 11 foot, and I am not very good at left foot braking in that small compartment. So all I do is a quick stab of the brake, turn in, back on the gas. Some people have the tendency to turn right early and get to that apex way early. Patience will be rewarded here. If you do this right and you wait and you be patient, you'll be able to maintain a continuous arc throughout this turn without having to do anything more than small adjustments for understeer and oversteer. Through these next series of turns, I'm basically 100% throttle. The only time that I lift slightly, and that's no less than 90% throttle, is just for the direction changes, and then I'm right back on it. Turn 7 is a really easy turn coming out of turn 6, so it's not really even worth discussing. The key here coming into turn 8 is that I like to keep the car to the left side of the track and hold it all the way to the left so I can best prepare myself to go fast and climb up turn 9. So now we're in the middle of turn 9 here. Turn 9 is a fast, gradual climbing right-hand turn, so there's definitely going to be some benefits from having some aero here. Now, one thing to note here, there's not a lot of runoff on your left and your right, so you don't want to do anything foolish like brake heavily or lift excessively. That's going to result in a spin. So I stay in the gas, keep the car planted, and climb this turn. It's a very traditional line, and just work yourself out to the left side of the track. As you come over the crest, you'll see the crossing bridge that goes over the track surface again, and we talked about where you want to be positioned at the beginning of this video. So that's it. Those are all the 10 turns at Summit Point Raceway. It's important to note that I mentioned a couple of speeds and a couple of various techniques here, and those speeds and those techniques and those turning points as well as braking points are what works best for my car. Your car is going to be different. It's going to vary based on the grip, available the tire, the platform, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, etc. So really, it is only what works with my car. There's no guarantee this is going to work with your car or if it's even safe to do in your car. So just only use this information as a informative session about the track. And with that being said, that leads up to a unstopped lap that I'll show you guys around Summit Point. This was my best lap here. It was done on Hoosier's R7s in about 55-degree temperatures at a NASA time trial event. So 120.7, best lap around here, and here we go. And that's it. That's a lap around Summit Point Raceway. Hopefully it was helpful and informative. If you're interested in seeing some more of these, this was just a trial run for me. Just leave a comment below, and I'll try to make a few more of these as I travel to various tracks around the Northeast.